Hey, what's up, MotoAmerica fans? It's Josh Heron. Make sure you subscribe to the MotoAmerica YouTube channel to see all the up-to-date content. Like and subscribe. Don't forget my channel, too.
It's time for the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship. Round 1 of 9 for 2021 from Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta in Braselton, Georgia. It's MotoAmerica Superbikes at Atlanta. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the broadcast booth. I'm Greg White, standing alongside Jason Pridmore, two-time national champion. Now, Jason, when we look at this class, it's the SportbikeTrackGear.com Junior Cup category. The top three, including Rocco Landers, have graduated to another class, which leaves us with a talented field all gunning for their first championship.
They really are. There's a bunch of kids, but the one guy we're looking at, Ben Glotty, he actually brought the fight to those other three that you mentioned a lot last year. He kind of looks like the odds-on favorite, but like I said, there's a lot of hungry kids going to be chasing him. Not
only looking at Ben Glotty, you have to look back in the field because there's been some new motorcycles in the class. We'll talk about that as well. But when we look at this young man, Jason, Ben Glotty, we've been talking about him for a couple of years, but he's only 15 years old out of New Hampshire. And last season, he stood on the podium 8 times.
Yeah, and that podium, he kept getting closer and closer. He ran with those three guys that you mentioned that have all graduated to the 600 Super Sport class now. And Ben is a taller rider as well. But yeah, he's been around for a while, even though it doesn't feel like it.
So many riders in this field, a lot of young talent, including this young man, the number 12, Jack Roach. He was involved in 2 incidences so far this weekend. He'll bounce back from this one, gunning for a podium.
Rodeo is going to be the top qualifier, 142.43. That beats the 46 of Blake Davis. A couple of young guns, some small guns, and good to see Max Toth. He'll be on that front row as well. All right, predictions, or what do you think about this? Because, I mean, it was Rodeo who jumped up there at the end.
It's going to be such a close race. I mean, if you look at the lap times where they qualified, they all qualified. The top 4 people are within 3/10. Actually, top 5 is all within a half a second, so it's going to be a really good race. It's hard to tell. It's also cool to see Tyler Scott racing here this weekend and a KTM in the mix.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jack Roach, we saw a little picture of him on that Westby Yamaha. A new ride for him this year was on the Kawasaki Power Plant.
Oh, Blake's having a problem on the start, the warm-up lap.
Now, did we see something with him at the end of qualifying? Didn't he pull over as well, too?
And I mentioned it on qualifying, too. You know, when you have a problem, it's really stressful because you don't get the, another practice to check.
Yeah, you don't know. It could be electrical. It could be fuel. Who knows what it is? But we're trying to get that 22 on the starting line. Blake Davis is having some troubles. We'll send it over to the guys next door.
Today's STG Junior Cup coverage is sponsored by SportbikeTrackGear.com, the motorcycle apparel and parts specialists. And in part by Geico Motorcycle. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car or motorcycle insurance. And Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
Welcome back to Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Fans everywhere here in Braselton, Georgia. Jason Pridmore, one of my favorite racetracks on the circuit.
Absolutely. Road Atlanta's been around for a long time, Greg. Fast turn 1 up that big steep hill into a very tricky single line turns 2, 3, 4 down the big sweeping hill into turn 5. Turn 7 on these little bikes, Greg, it's going to be key. You're going to see these guys 5, 6 wide down that back straightaway for the outbraking maneuvers down into turn 10. Already seen some action there in this class in practice and qualifying, then up over the hill into the last spot to pass turn 12 before you head to that start-finish line.
2.55 miles of total fun. What about the starting grid? Jason, Gus Rodeo with a 42.433 sits on pole position.
Really great to see him back. Blake Davis, Maxwell Toth, Tyler Scott, Benjamin Glotty, and Vanderbroek there on the first 2 rows. Dreyer Wyman on the Kawasaki now. Bickneys, and then Kolstad, Jack Roach, and Aiden Thau are going to be rounding out row 4. Back a little bit further, Chase Black, Cale Essman, Alex Ricci, Charles Cipriano. So when you look at this, Greg, we're going to have a first-time winner today.
Yeah, we certainly are.
We're going to have a first-time winner, so it's going to be fun to watch. And Gus Rodeo is coming back from a big injury at the Ridge last year. I believe it was a femur that he had broke, and he comes back and puts it on pole in his first race back. Have to say too, Greg, looks a little bit taller than he did last year as well. So
that's what off-season will do for you in this class.
We always talk about that. Now, Blake Davis is coming to the line this morning in qualifying number 2. He actually had a problem with his motorcycle, and so this will be his first time on that bike again. Remember, we saw Blake turn 14 last year here at this race, a little later in the year last year. So we're here about 2 months earlier than I think we were last time.
Yeah,
so,
August 1st.
All right, here we go.
12 laps for this one. SportbikeTrackGear.com Junior Cup. Revs are up, lights on. And the lights off, here we go. To turn number 1 we go. On these lightweight displacement machines, and it looks like
Gus got a great start there.
He did. 96, Gus Rodeo.
Tyler Scott on the lone KTM files in right behind him as they head up the hill out of turn 1, first lap around.
So Gus Rodeo on the Rodeo Racing Kawasaki Ninja 400 leads the way. And you see that orange bike, that's a KTM. Good to see KTM back in this class.
Yeah, we got a couple of Yamahas and obviously a slew of Kawasaki's. And right now we've got three manufacturers in those first 3 spots. So head down the back straightaway. Tyler Scott takes the lead from Gus Rodeo as they come out of turn 5 up that hill and then down that little back chute. And these 3 guys have already separated themselves. Blake Davis as well has gone. So it's going to be interesting to see if these 3 can just organize their way away from everybody else. Oh! Big crash coming on out of turn 7. Man, am I glad he was able to just stay on that yellow curbing. I was worried about him getting out. I believe, Greg, that might be Avery Dreyer. I'm not positive, but I believe it's Avery.
Yeah, number 99.
And I'm just happy to see that he ended up staying on the curbing and not getting shot back out in front of all these kids. Now the group behind, Ben Glotty, has gotten to the front of that group, and he's going to pull these guys along, and you can see just behind him, looks like Vanderbroek's in there.
So up over the hill, and you can see left part of your screen.
If he gets in there a little wide, see him? He's out there wide, and then he touches that red clay. He gets over those rumble strips, and I was really worried at that point that he might jump out in front of those guys, and I'm glad he didn't do that. So there's going to be some Georgia red clay on that part of the track when they come back through there. But now our 3-rider field has been swallowed up. Maxwell Toth has got himself into that 4th place spot.
5, 6, 7 riders going at it right now. Number 70, Tyler Scott, leading the way. So Scott on that Scott Power Sports KTM, that RC390R. Last time we saw this bike in competition, it won the championship here in Junior Cup.
It was a couple of years ago, wasn't it? So yeah, we got a red flag coming out now, Greg. They probably weren't able to get the turn cleaned up, or maybe Avery just needs a little bit of assistance down there possibly. So he kind of went face first into those rumble strips. So they just red flag it.
So the field will come back into pit lane while the situation is clear. You can see the corner workers right part of your screen there. It's signaling like, hey.
Looked like Avery's sitting up.
Yeah.
Looks like he was sitting up there, Greg, but don't like to see that, especially in this class. I mean, we know that there's a lot of adrenaline going through these young guys. We don't have any girls this year. Yeah, I know we had a young lady, I believe, in the Twins Cup, but not in this one. So
what's going on, Hannah?
Yeah, Jason, just to go off of what you were saying, Kayla Yakov will be the only female joining the field later this season when she turns 14, and she's age eligible in June of this year.
I'm excited to see her ride, Hannah. I mean, I've got to actually be on track with her a little bit. She's amazing to watch on track as well. So it's going to be really neat to have her join the series, real soon.
I can't.
All right, so riders coming into pit lane. Going to get the area in turn number 7 looked at, making sure that You see the Lucas Oil helicopter flying overhead, providing us with outstanding shots here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta all day long. A good look at the paddock and how the entire weekend is set up for the race teams in here. There's a shot of the helicopter on a beautiful day in Georgia. So the SportbikeTrackGear.com Junior Cup race under a red flag. You can see the Corvette pace car on its way over to turn number 7. No opportunity for riders or teams to change tires in this one. They'll have to run the same tires they began with. Not that much of a deal here in the Junior Cup category because you can, these tires, Dunlop tires, last quite a while in this class.
Yeah, without the big horsepower, and obviously with only one lap completed, they're not going to be too badly worn out.
You jealous, Jason?
A little bit.
You jealous of this Corvette?
Corvette looks pretty good, I have to say.
You have a Corvette, don't you?
I do.
A little old?
A little older. Yep.
Older.
Yep, but it's good. Still in good shape, but I'm getting too old for those cars now, Greg. I need something to get in and out of easy.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I was like, too old. Not in the brain, definitely not too old. So as we look to see what MotoAmerica is going to do, decision in terms of laps for this race as well. Because it was so early on in the race, we expect a same exact grid. Gus Rodeo on pole, Blake Davis in second, and Maxwell Toth.
It just gets those initial race jitters out of the way when something like that used to happen. I think when you kind of get psyched up for the race, and then you get a start, and then there's a red flag, and you think, oh, it's got to start all over again. But like I was saying earlier, now you've kind of got a race and a start under your belt, and you're trying to figure out ways that you can do better, and you're trying to think about that first sort of 20 seconds of the race before you get up there into turn 2, and where you can position yourself or align yourself better, what you can do better sometimes gives you an opportunity. And if you got a bad start, Greg, it gave you kind of a chance to redeem yourself a little. Of course, if you got a good start, you're bummed.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Jason, here in the SportbikeTrackGear.com Junior Cup category, we've talked about it at the open of this show, but one of the things we're looking at right now is the 16 riders that were on the grid. And Hannah mentioned it before that we have one young rider who's going to be coming into this class when she turns 14 years old. But really, Jason, if you look at the amount of racers that are lined up to come into this class during the course of the season, I mean, we expect to have this probably midway through the year, the SportbikeTrackGear.com Junior Cup class, to have entries in the 20s.
No, it's going to be good.
21, 22 athletes in there.
And what's neat about this is that MotoAmerica really wants to groom young riders, and that's what this class is all about. I mean, here's a perfect example. Blake Davis last year, we see him on camera right now. When we came here, we were introduced to him, and then yesterday he had provisional pole. I mean, he got to race with us from here out, from the third round on. So, that's what this class is all about. We're going to get some youngsters. Hannah, what do you got for us?
Another new face in the paddock joined us last year at Laguna Seca. Max Toth made his MotoAmerica debut, and here he is with us for the full season. Max, you've been having a really consistent weekend so far. Take us through the start of that race for you.
Yeah, the start didn't go as good as I hoped it went, but I just went through it, playing it safe and trying to do my best to score the most amount of points that I could. Obviously, we're in a fight for the championship, so, we can't just go full out trying to win every single race, because that's when mistakes are going to happen. So.
Were you able to learn anything in that short start of the race that'll help prepare you for the restart?
I learned that my team could rebuild a pretty good bike.
All right, well, best of luck to you out there. Max Toth, guys, keep an eye out.
Max had an accident, I think, yesterday, and so that was what he's referring back to, is that his team has built him a bike that's good again, and we saw him at Laguna, so let's see how he can do here today.
This guy right here, looking pretty focused. The number 72 of Ben Glotty. Spent some time with him on Thursday shooting a bow.
Yep.
Had a good time. The New Hampshire native. A lot to think about. He's got a really work on that start because he was able to close the gap, and then he was going to start making a big race out of this one. It was 7 riders in that front group. And we're going to be heading to lap number 2.
Obviously having Rocco as a guy in your corner and then Stoney as well, with a lot of success the last couple of years that those two showed. Stoney Landers, obviously the father of Rocco Landers, who prepares the bikes and things. It's got to give Ben a lot of confidence, you know, coming to the track and knowing who he's going to have around his equipment and working on his equipment. So he's just got to get this first weekend under his belt and get the best results he can get, obviously, and move on. So probably feels a little bit of pressure with this newly formed team. Let's get back down to Heine with Tyler Scott.
Yeah, Jason, another new face on the grid and the lone KTM in the field today, Tyler Scott. Tyler, you were off to an incredible start there. Take us through those first few moments of the race.
Yeah, so the race is like 12 laps, and I'm used to doing a little bit more. Last year I was overseas doing ETC, and I think there were 17 laps, but the goal was to get a good start and then from there just move up the grid. And I was P1 and I was in a pretty good position, so I'm like, all right, we can push now. But unfortunately there was a red flag, but the goal is to get a good start and do the same thing again.
How does having this free time during a red flag affect your mindset? Does it make it harder or does it make it easier for you to do it all over again?
I think it's about the same. I get time to focus about my plan and what I'm going to do, because it's been hours since I got on the bike, and since the red flag was so early, I can see what I'm doing wrong and improve for the restart of the race.
With this being your first race on this KTM, what are your expectations as far as a finish goes?
At the beginning of the weekend, we didn't know how it would stack up or if it would even be competitive, but we're looking for a podium and maybe even a win.
Well, best of luck out there to you guys. Tyler Scott.
All right, Tyler, on that KTM. And look who's holding the umbrella for Ben Glotty. That's Rocco Landers. Oh, and Rocco Landers, the champ, giving us the #1 sign. He's pulling for his teammate, Ben Glotty, who's just trying to stay focused and not listen to us over the PA.
Yeah.
And I don't blame him. So, waiting for word on the restart of this SportbikeTrackGear.com Junior Cup. So Hannah's still down there working hard. What you got, Hannah?
Gus Rodeo had a season-ending injury at the Ridge last year, but he is healed up and back on this bike, ready to fight. Qualified on pole, his first pole position ever. Gus, how was the start of the race for you?
It was all right. I'm not very happy with it. I just need to work harder on that first lap and just break the touch. So I'm gonna work really hard, and I'm gonna see what happens.
What are your expectations for the race, and how are you feeling now that you're back from this injury?
I feel way more prepared than last year. My body, the bike feels way better. The crew's working hard. And yeah, I mean, I really want to win, so that's what we're going to try and do.
Best of luck out there. Thanks, Gus.
You hear him talking about just wanting to break away from everybody, so he wants to get his head down, get through those first, look like he got a pretty good start. But he wants to try to get away from everybody. It's really hard to do that in this class, Greg, and it's hard to do it at a track like Road Atlanta where, the draft is such a key ingredient at this place. We go to some tracks around the country like Road America as well. But with these little bikes, I mean, they draft even at some of what we would consider tight tracks.
Yeah, that's true.
They just draft everywhere.
They make a short straightaway longer.
Yeah, correct. So, the draft can really get, 6, 7, 8, 10 people involved when you get to some of these longer tracks like Road America. And we always used to think to yourself, if you could get kind of within a second of pole position, second and a half of pole position at some of the tracks where a draft is really key, you can kind of get pulled along by that. So it made it a little bit easier for you to stay in touch with that lead group.
Pit lane is getting ready to open, which means we're going to do a quick start procedure. Jason Pridmore, tell us about that.
Quick start procedure. These guys are going to go out, do a quick lap, and get back to the grid. They'll have one person standing from their crew on the grid itself. And once everybody gets to a stop, MotoAmerica is ready to get going. They will be removed from the grid, and then everybody will do a quick little warm-up lap as well. So we're a couple laps away here from them getting this race restarted. Look at all the people. They got a lot of people here, Greg. So all the fans, it's great seeing all the fans back. Was watching everybody kind of funnel in here today, and I can't believe all the people and RVs there are over on the fence lines and stuff over in the back. A lot of people.
So we'll take our original grid positions. There'll be 10 laps to run in this race. And what we expect to be much the same after the start of the first version of this race, which is, of course, a lot of drafting and passing. It's part of, I think, the appeal, Jason, of Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, along with some of the other circuits that we do have. You know, it's like if your bike isn't set up perfectly and you lose a tenth here or half a tenth there, and you get a good drive onto one of these straightaways, especially in this class, you're able to keep everyone who you're racing with in sight. So with this quick start procedure, those that have crew members are standing in their grid position, just to remind all these racers where they started the first time. And this is really helpful, Jay. If we were, say, 3 laps into this race and the red flag came out, they would actually create a grid based off of the last completed lap.
Correct.
And so it would be a new grid position for these riders. So it's a more of a familiarity with the starting procedure is why we do this. So once everybody's in the proper grid position and they know where they'll be starting this race from, you'll see one more lap, a warm-up lap, and then it's grid and go. All right, so there are the horns that we're hearing on the front side of this road course. So Jason, if anyone had a chance to make a change, which oftentimes we know with these Junior Cup bikes, really not that necessary. It's more about, you know, gearing, I think, is a bigger
gearing's
deal.
a big thing, right?
Yeah.
But they're really, you know, Greg, they only got 1 lap. So to be fair, you know, nobody made any real big changes. There's not going to be anything big. What these kids need to go out and do is put together the full 10 laps, and then, you know, go back to mom and dad or crew chief or whoever it is they have and tell them where they felt the bike was good or had its deficiencies that they want to improve on tomorrow. It's really, this is where the learning starts. You start to develop that kind of vocabulary of words that you're going to use to describe what your bike is doing at an early age. And some of these kids have gotten with some really good people on their side as far as, I mean, you imagine, you know, Benjamin Glotty right now, he gets to come in and talk to Stoney Landers, who's obviously helped Rocco to do what Rocco's done the last couple of years. So, you know, he's going to be able to kind of express what he wants the bike to do and things he thinks he can do better in the next day. And that's what they'll do overnight. They'll make those changes. But as far as changes right now, there's not going to be that many changes after a red flag just with 1 lap.
And if you're here enjoying MotoAmerica racing for the first time, this class has a minimum age requirement of 14 years old, and that's why you see such young talent. And so the riders that we're talking about that aren't here, that will be here later on this year, 13 years old, getting ready to turn 14. And as part of the appeal of the SportbikeTrackGear.com Junior Cup class, the ability to race, learn the tracks, and honestly, Jason, to network, to be able to meet the people that make the decisions for the larger race teams.
Yep.
And to showcase your talent. And that's really what this class is about competitive balance as well. And that's why Yamaha YZF R3 was allowed some upgrades to its power plant over the off season to create a more level playing field with the Kawasaki Ninja 400 and, of course, the KTM RC 390R. At Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta for the SportbikeTrackGear.com Junior Cup restart for race number 1. -1 on the grid. Here we go. It's all about that light, upper left-hand part of your screen. It's on. Revs are up. And we're away. And it looks like Blake Davis on the 22 got a good launch, but it's Gus Rodeo again from the pole position to number 96 with those eyes staring you down. He'll lead us into turn number 1. You can hear bikes bouncing off rev limiters.
And this time he's going to get a much better run up.
Oh, and a crash on the exit of turn number 1.
It's Max Toth. Number 58 has gone down on the exit of turn 1. He's up and okay. But Max was he sounded so mellow too that you can't win. You know, he was talking about trying to win this championship and getting points, and he's frustrated. I don't blame him. This is the second time, unfortunately, we've seen from Max. Laguna Seca, I think he fell out of turn 2 on the first lap. We're going to have to look back at the video there, see if he got any help. I feel bad for him because he's just going up the hill, and next thing you know, he's on the ground. Back up at the front, Ben Galati, as well as Tyler Scott, has come to the front and got by Gus Rodeo early. So these 3 guys have gotten out to the front. We have a KTM, a Kawasaki, a KTM and 2 Kawasaki's right now.
Into the draft they go, and boy, Tyler Scott able to get off of turn number 7.
Let's see if we can see what happened here. Yeah, it looks like Max just had somebody kind of come across the front of him.
Oh, it was just a convergence of lines, more or less.
It's really all it was. I can't tell if is it Cody? Is that Cody Wyman?
Yeah, it might be Cody Wyman.
But Cody was just going up the hill. And, it didn't look like anything.
It was just 2 riders trying to occupy the same space. Yeah, and that's just too bad. Oh,
I just feel bad for Max, man. They'll be back tomorrow. Get that bike together. First lap's going to be completed with Benjamin Galati leading over Gus Rodeo. Then Tyler Scott, Cody Wyman rebounding. If that was him, gets himself into that 4th place spot. Looks like the top 6 guys, Greg, have got away. Vanderbroek and Kolstedt are in that top 6 spot. And then you got Aiden Thau and Jack Roach just behind, trying to keep in touch with the 6.
Scott back to the top spot. So there goes the KTM rider, leading the way from Ben Galati, and we are really snug up front right now. This is the kind of racing we love to see in this class.
Looks like Kolstedt just kind of forced his way under Vanderbroek down the hill there, and that's going to allow Aiden Thau and Jack Roach to get back in contact kind of at the tail end of this lead group. And just behind them, Hayden Bickneys is right there, also in 9th place.
There's Jack Roach on that.
He's had a rough weekend too.
Yeah, he's had a rough one on the Westby Racing. Blake Davis has run off the track, we hear.
Oh, he has he?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He's down.
Yep, the number 22 is down as well. So,
wow, what is going on here?
It's kind of like some of the other races that we've seen today. We've just seen a little bit of carnage at the beginning of these races, and some of our top guys, Max Toth and obviously Blake Davis, are both out. And here you go. Ben Galati takes the lead as they go down into turn 10 over Tyler Scott and Gus Rodeo.
3 wide, and who sorts himself out at the front? Going to be the favorite heading into this championship with a proven track record. Ben Galati looking for a win, his first, as is everyone in this field.
Yeah, everybody's looking for that first one, aren't they, Greg?
Yeah.
And Cody Wyman is snugged back up onto the back of these guys. Top 4 guys now, you can tell from our helicopter view, has started to pull away. That KTM, Greg, isn't slow as it goes by Galati down that front straightaway. Little draft pass down that front straightaway as they head into turn number 1. Gus Rodeo still staying right there with these guys.
Boy, that KTM is slender compared to that Kawasaki, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a small bike.
Look how agile it is going through the top section. The switchbacks, turn number 2, down into the S as they go. Tyler Scott, Pennsylvania native, leading the way, and that's Scott Power Sports KTM. Ben Galati in tow. A little bit of a gap back to 3rd spot. So now it's really 5 riders.
Yeah, that'll get erased pretty quick. The guys just behind there.
There goes Cody.
He tried. He gave it a go for a minute there, didn't he?
Yeah, Wyman thought about it. He's on the green motorcycle. Is Cody Wyman, the 34. He's in 4th spot. Rodeo with the eyeballs on that red Kawasaki in 3rd. More draft and pass maneuvers going on in the back straightaway. Lap times in the books. 1:43.2, a 1:42.9 from Hayden Bickneys. Your fastest lap back there in 8th place. Here we go into 10A. No big shots thrown in that one. Jay, it's all about carrying the momentum on these bikes, too.
Man.
You know, it's not like you can park someone and then get on the gas, because this is so tight racing that if you try to do that with 1, 2, or 3 are going to go by you that are right behind you.
No, that's exactly right. And if you just get kind of balked a little bit anywhere, you can lose 2, 3, 4 spots. And that's why you see guys, you'll see 2 or 3 bikes break away, then they kind of get in each other's way, and that next group of 3 or 4 will catch back up and create a bigger gap. And you know, we've seen it in the past too, where the guy in 7th or 8th can literally turn the fastest lap of the race. Cody looked like he got a little bit close to Gus as they come up there, and he had to check up. That allowed Kolstedt to go back by him as they rolled off into that turn 2. Now Bickney's the guy who ends up running the quickest lap a couple laps ago. Kolstedt actually bettered that, but Bickney's is in 7th, so he's trying to get himself. Hopefully these guys, you know, if he's back there looking right now, he's hoping that these guys will get in each other's way a little bit and allow him to get up in that lead group. Gus Rodeo goes back by Kolstedt as they go into turn 6.
Kolstedt had just set the fastest lap of the race at a 42.350. That's faster than they qualified at. This is a lot of what we see in SportbikeTrackGear.com Junior Cup. So David Kolstedt on the 29. Doing a good job. This, a little bit of a gap back to Max Van. And then Hayden Bickney's Jack Roach on the 12.
Yeah, this
so
is
up front we go. Look at 3 wide.
Going to be 4 wide in a minute, possibly, if Kolstedt gets his nose in there. He's just going to sit back there as David. We've seen him do well in the past as also. So we got 5 that have just kind of broke away. And this is when you're just learning. You're learning your craft right now, Greg. All these guys. And you heard Tyler Scott talking about racing overseas. It's not unusual to have a few of these kids get back over here after they turn 14 or 15 and join us in the Junior Cup class. Tyler Scott goes back to the front, down that front straightaway. Same move he pulled on Ben Glotty just a couple of laps ago. He's able to draft back past.
Yeah, he's able to get past him, but if you're Ben Glotty, you see that Tyler's not able to get past Glotty until after the start-finish line.
Yeah.
So Glotty knows at this point that, yeah, the KTM may have either, you know, a little bit faster one way or another, whether it's motor or whether it's maybe a great gearing choice. But nonetheless, Glotty's got to be thinking, okay, no matter what, I got to lead him coming out of the final corner.
That's correct. And you can see now they've opened up this gap. So they've opened up a gap over the next chasing group of 4 riders. Back there's going to be Bickneys and Roach. Aiden Dowell's back there as well. Vanderbroek, I believe, is back there. Yep.
Yeah, Max Van on that SportbikeTrackGear.com entry. It's a good battle shaping up. So, at the moment, Tyler Scott leads the way down the back straightaway, getting himself a nice, healthy gap as the 4 riders are deep behind the bubble in chase. Here we go, down into turn 10 after the draft. Scott still leading the way. Ben Glotty trying to close that gap.
Well, I know there's going to be at least 2 riders in this group that are going to need to do a gearing change because the bikes are in the limiters really early at the top of the hill. I can hear them in the limiter, so they're not going to keep driving forward, which they really need. These guys still had a ton of track to go before they were getting on the brakes. Now Gus Rodeo's lining up. You can see him right behind Glotty as they come down the front straightaway. Rodeo's going to pull out, try to get down into turn 1 a little early. Yep, he's going to get down there and make that pass.
But does he have the momentum to carry him up the hill? Because you can kind of go up the inside. They're side by side heading to the top of the hill, but it's going to be Rodeo 3 wide up there. There's not a lot of room for that.
No, they got to be careful, though, because that was a really good line that Gus just did there at the top of the hill. So look for a minute that Tyler Scott might try to get away. Tyler does a 42 flat on his own, pushing his own air out in the front, and he ends up going fastest lap of the race and started to pull away. But now these guys are coming back to him.
This is a heck of a race, isn't it, Hannah?
Guys, for Tyler Scott, he is such a young racer, one of the younger in the field. He's just 15 years old, but he's got an awful lot of experience under his belt that's really helpful to him here in this race scenario. He grew up flat tracking. He transitioned to road racing when he was really young. In 2019, when he was just 12, he did the Red Bull Rookies Cup. Last year, he raced full-time in the FIM CEV series, and now he's here joined up with KTM for a full season in MotoAmerica. He knows it's going to be really competitive, and despite having never never been at this track other than a couple of times before this weekend. It's really showing that he's got this experience is coming to his aid.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. The only thing is, Jay, he looked back and kind of did the whole tail section thing.
Yeah,
like,
we
hey,
see that a lot, don't we? Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely do on that one.
Yeah, and a lot of these kids will just go, I'm not going to play that. I'm just going to go ahead and go past.
But just, building on what Hannah just said, Scott just pulled the fastest lap of the race, a 42 flat. So now Tyler Scott, 0.7 of a second quicker than where Tyler qualified, and 0.4 of a lap quicker than pole sitter Gus Rodeo did in qualification. And now Scott looks like he's trying to set sail and get out of here.
Well, he's had that big of a gap before, and then Gus is really pretty good up in this little section. He closed up a lot the lap before this. You can see he cuts that corner cuts the curbing really nice. Look how much of a gap he closes up there. And he gets down here and gets close enough, and then the KTM, I think what you talked about even being pretty nimble, it goes good. It goes really good through 6 and 7, and he opens up enough of a gap out of there where they can't draft him. So, he was talking earlier about being worried about the KTM being competitive, and it's showing itself to be more than competitive right now.
Battle for second, third, and fourth continuing to rage on with Scott leading the way. Gus Rodeo, number 96, in second spot. Easy to pick Rodeo out the entire season with those eyeballs on that red motorcycle.
But they can't get close enough to him right now, the number 70, meaning that Gus Rodeo and those others, they just can't get close enough. Glotty drafts, Kolstad drafts, and Ty Scott just keeps his head down. It's got to give him a lot of confidence to continually go down that back straightaway and not have anybody go past him.
It looks like Ben Glotty may have had enough of Tyler Scott leading this race. He's trying to break away from the riders behind him and reel Scott in. As the laps start to tick away, we only have 3 to go in this one.
Yeah, let's see what we got here. Low 42.3 that time for Ben Glotty, 42.5 for our race leader. So he closed up a couple of tenths there, but now they're in the low 42s. Like you said, we saw Tyler Scott 42 flat on his own last time. Now Glotty's going to lead these guys through this little section. Yeah, that's the only place that I can see Tyler Scott getting caught up to just a little bit. Is that's the top of the hill, turn 2. That last little right before they start heading down that hill, these guys just close up on him ever so slightly there. But now, Greg, they're close enough to draft. Glotty's done a nice job here closing that gap. He ran his fastest first split of the race at a 38.5 to a 38.7 for the guy just in front of him. And look what it's done. Now it's kind of, you see a gap going between first and second and third and fourth.
Yeah, you can see Glotty trying to figure out how to maximize the potential of his bike versus Tyler Scott. At this point, though, Jason, it looks like Scott isn't riding as hard to do this pace as Ben Glotty is having to do.
Oh, the KTM's got some legs, too, down the back straightaway right now. And these two guys have pulled away from third and fourth, meaning Kolstad and Rodeo back there. Rodeo's making a pass on Kolstad. You can see Cody Wyman's just lost touch with this battle for the podium.
There's a nice move.
Yep.
Into turn 10A, very typical. And up front, it's just a bike length. But watch Scott come off this corner and gap Glotty to turn number 1.
See what they do this lap by. Looks 42 flat that time for Ben Glotty. So he almost matched Tyler Scott's personal best lap, or the best lap of the race, I should say. But what it did for them is they've opened up a full second now on that battle for third and fourth. So Glotty's doing everything he can right now to go with him.
So 42.096 this late in the race, and the fastest final sector split for Ben Glotty. You can see Glotty, this is the section where he's able to close up on Scott. But it's like as soon as we get on some straight long asphalt, it's that KTM with Tyler Scott at the helm is able to pull away.
Well, Ben's also one of the bigger kids, but it looks like he gets tucked in pretty well. The KTM's a lot narrower, but Ty Scott also's got a good tuck as well. But here's let's see what we can see, Greg, as far as what one guy's doing different. They're both just tucked in, and Glotty just can't kind of close that gap, can he?
No, and you really have to be probably half the distance that he is right now in order to catch the draft.
To feel that draft.
To be able to feel it. Although that time, not as much of a deficit as we continue to watch Gus Rodeo and David Kolstad going at it. Rodeo in the 96, Kolstad on the 29. So Glotty's got to start thinking about something, because next time by, we're going to get the white flag. This is going to get really chippy in a hurry. What's Ben Glotty going to do? He wants to walk away with this first race with a full 25 points.
Well, he's tired of finishing second and third, I can tell you that right now. But Ty Scott makes a little mistake there. Got into that last corner tight, which put him out wide over the curbing a little earlier than I've seen him in other laps. So maybe he's in a little bit of protection mode going into that last corner, but he's got to run perfect last lap. Now, Ty's probably got a pretty good feeling right now that he hasn't been drafted, haven't been passed. It's got to give him a lot of confidence leading going onto the back straightaway. So he's going to put his head down through these S's and try to just clean this part the best he possibly can. You can see he doesn't go through the paint. The other guys kind of roll over that paint on the inside, and that allows Glotty to close back up as they come down into turn 5.
I think Glotty's going to have to really have a good clean turn right here in turn 5 and try to drive up the hill, but Scott doing good work right now.
Glotty got a good run out of there, but Ty's just not making any mistakes. He's just hitting his marks for the last 4 or 5 laps that he's been leading. Glotty tries to outbrake, tries to keep up a bunch of corner speed. Now this is the key here. Here we go.
On to the back straightaway for the final time in race number 1 of the SportbikeTrackGear.com Junior Cup class. Ben Glotty trying to find something in the draft too far back.
Wow.
Is he going to make some type of big lunge in turn 10A to make up some time? He is not close enough to make
he's closing
pass,
in right now. You
trying.
can see once they get into that top gear, he starts closing in. He's going to have to close up a lot right here at the bottom and then try to line something up in turn 12 right now. These two guys are still going at it as they go into turn 10. Rodeo gets shoved wide. That's going to allow Kolstad to take that third spot on the podium, but
how about this? The final time through the final corner on the gas on the curb. The number 70 straightens it up. It's the run to the checkered flag, and it's going to be Tyler Scott who fends off the advancements of Ben Glotty, who did the fastest lap of the race on the last lap.
Wow, they both did their personal best. Both did the fastest lap of the race on the last lap.
A 41.5, and it's going to be Tyler Scott from Ben Glotty by 0.2 of a second. David Kolstad will be credited with third over Gus Rodeo. That battle lost by 0.7 of a second. Cody Wyman in 5th, Max Van in 6th, Hayden Bickney's in 7th, Jack Roach and Aiden Tao. That was a close race. All right, we'll step away. When we come back, more from Braselton, Georgia.
As we take a look through the eyes of the Lucas Oil helicopter here at Road Atlanta, MotoAmerica Championship of Atlanta, our final race of the day. Tyler Scott, what a run from him. You and I kept looking at each other, and we've seen it before in other classes when somebody walks away, and we saw it here actually and with Michael Barnes in the Twins Cup one year. When somebody walks away from someone on a straightaway, do it a couple times, and they'll probably back you down just a little bit.
Yeah, the KTM was definitely fast, but Tyler Scott never made a mistake, and he's got a lot of experience. He's been quick all weekend, and the best thing for him was he just got out front. These other guys were kind of battling it out, and he ran wide a couple times, but for the most part, he ran a perfect race.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. I mean, impressive. And you'd said it, and you told me yesterday. A lot of people. I know the Arai guy, and that's his number 1 fan, right? With Tyler, the guy from Arai.
Supports him a lot. He's got a lot of faith in him.
He said he's always talking about him and how good he is. You saw him when he was a little kid doing little dirt devil stuff out back. I mean, he's been doing it for a while. He's been one of those young and up-and-comers for many years.
He has been. He's a name that I've been hearing for the last, probably 5-6 years or maybe longer, ever since he was a young guy. He's been fast flat tracking, won tons of titles as an amateur flat tracker here in the U.S. and a lot of, road races too. And actually, he went to Europe last year and did some racing over there.
Scott Power Sports KTM on top of the box. A lot of people said, hey, he's faster than Rocco Landers. When you look at their times, even though I mean, he was turning some quick times with this crew, but he's still at least a 3/4 of a second, maybe a minute, or not a minute, a full second slower than Rocco's time from last year.
Yeah, they were a little bit slower than Rocco's last year, but you never know. The track always changes, and the cool thing is you don't have to race last year's track record. You have to race what's in front of you this year.
He was basically racing Rocco's bike from last year. Ben Glotty, I mean, that is a new bike, but it's set up like Rocco's and prepared by Rocco's dad, Stoney Landers, on the 72. Good job by Ben Glotty. I think he got out horsepowered a little bit, but he kept putting himself in a position to win this race.
Yeah, he was trying his hardest all the way to the last lap. I mean, the last lap was the best lap of the race, and he tried to get close enough to get in that draft and really got on the brakes into turn 10 really deep to see if he could get close enough to make a move down into turn 12, but he just could not get there.
First time we've seen that KTM in a while, boy. That's a skinny bike right there. You put a small guy on a skinny bike, and you're not going to break too much wind for the guy behind you. But that bike was equally as fast out on its own by itself as the other guys, even getting in his slipstream. They weren't really making up any ground.
No, but it did seem like, once they get into sixth gear toward the kink is whenever Ben Glotty could start kind of coming back on him a little bit. So it was just kind of that middle part of the straightaway just seemed like the KTM was a little bit stronger.
David Kolstad, what a run there towards the end for him. Little dive bomb going into 10. I mean, it was actually a close call for Gus Radio. He almost ran out of tarmac.
Yeah, they were fighting for that last podium spot. That was a good pass into turn 10. Neither one of them wanted to give it up, but David Kolstad had the inside line and got it.
Yeah, good job by the 29 finishing in third, and we'll hear from them in just a moment as they prepare to do the trackside interviews on that victory podium. But again, Scott, Glotty, and Kolstad. Kolstad on that Veloci Racing Kawasaki Ninja. Ben Glotty, number 72, riding for Landers Racing, and Tyler Scott on that Scott Performance KTM. Actually, Scott Power Sports, the official nomenclature for Tyler Scott. As we get ready to send it down trackside and hear what our top three had to say, we'll remind everybody, stick around tomorrow. We have there are 6 classes. I was trying to add another. We have 6 classes racing tomorrow, a full schedule, including our Mission King of the Baggers race as well. So the first race of the year for the SportbikeTrackGear.com Junior Cup. Boy, that's a mouthful, Roger. How many times did you say that today?
No, I haven't. Actually, I try to avoid it. But, hey, what a great first day of racing for the 21 season. If this is what we can expect all year, I think we're in for a really good season.
Yeah, good run by Cody Wyman as well. Forgot about him finishing in the top 5. Strong finish. Max Van in 6. Big Niece, Jack Roach, Aiden Tao, and Chase Black rounding out that top 10. Let's send it back down as we take a look from the Lucas Oil helicopter.
Today's Junior Cup race coverage has been sponsored by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
Back at Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta. Final results for race number 1. Tyler Scott, 0.2 of a second over Ben Glotty. And David Kolstad locked in just a fierce battle with Gus Rodeo. A great job by Cody Wyman, who was there early. But let's get right down to Hannah, who has our winner, Tyler Scott.
Greg, Tyler is already making his mark on this series. This was his MotoAmerica Junior Cup debut, and he came out the gate already with a victory. Tyler, that battle with Glotty was pretty intense there for the lead. Tell us how you were able to protect your line and secure the win.
Yeah, so off the start, the first start was really good, and I was in the lead after the first lap, and then there was a red flag, unfortunately. But the second start went just as well, and I was battling with Gus Rodeo for a little bit. It was a really good battle, and then the one lap I looked back, and Ben was there, and I know he keeps pushing no matter what, so I put my head down and just kept pushing, and then on the last lap, I'm just like, he can't pass me down the straightaway, and coming into turn 10, I pretty much had it.
Well, congratulations to you, Tyler Scott. And guys, if this is any indication of his performance for the rest of the season, we'll be seeing him a lot more.
Oh, boy, that is for certain. But Tyler Scott, see, that's racecraft, just understanding what he had in the bank. And when he needed to, he cashed it and was able to hold on and take that victory. Let's get right back down to Hannah.
Second place today goes to Benjamin Glotty, and this has to feel pretty good. Last year we saw you in third quite a bit, 8 times to be exact. How are you feeling about your performance today?
I'm feeling really good. You know, we had a good battle there going in the beginning, and me and Tyler broke a little bit of a gap, and we were able to keep that gap for the rest of the race. And I knew it was just me and him out front. I was trying to strategize it to get to that last lap, so I was able to either draft him or get him on the brakes down to the last corner, but I wasn't able to make that happen. But I wouldn't have been able to do it without the whole Landers Racing team, Tarl, Stoney, Jamie, everybody over there, Arai Helmets, Freedom Cycle, everybody else that helps me out, Fast by Faraci, my mom, dad, American Super Camp. Everybody, thank you very much.
A career best finish in second place today for Benjamin Glotty, and you can be sure that we'll see some more of him this season as well.
Jason Pridmore, we have seen that look on Ben Glotty's face too many times in this series.
He wants to win, and that's just going to add a little bit more fuel to the fire for tomorrow for him. And again, it's a long season, Greg, but when you have a newbie come in and beat you like that, it probably stings Ben a little bit, but it's all part of learning, and we know he's going to win some races this year for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely got a good head on his shoulders. Let's get right back down to Hannah, who has our third place finisher locked in a great battle.
Today marks a career first podium for David Kolstad, who is a veteran of this class. He raced a full season with us last year, best finish of 4th. Talk about your battle for this podium.
I can't even, I'm speechless. This is something that I've been dreaming of. Literally, I wake up in the middle of the night thinking of this moment, you know, wanting to get to have this feeling and say that I've been here and I've done this. And I know for one sure I'm not done, and I know I want more. And I can't thank everyone enough for everyone being behind me. Veloce Racing, Cycle Tune, Two Old Dyno Works, Arai Helmet, and I'm speechless. I mean, I have to look over, you know, Liquid Molly. I mean, all these people, I couldn't have done it without them, and they mean so much to me. And I don't know what to say. I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. I'm definitely going to the pool.
And elated and overjoyed, David Kolstad finishing out our podium today.
Dude, you just got to love it, don't you? Isn't that the greatest thing ever?
Absolutely.
Wakes up in cold sweats probably because he wants to just go race his motorcycle. I love it. Congratulations, David Kolstad. That was amazing. And the interview was just as good. So nice work. Gus ends up 4th there. Got pushed off a little bit. Just going for it. Both those guys. Good, clean pass. And these guys will be back tomorrow.
A look at the MotoAmerica point system after one race. This is how it looks. 25 if you win it, 20 for second, 16 for third, and on back through the field, we pay all the way back to 15th place in this one. And of course, there were some heartbreakers today, Jason Pridmore, especially for some young riders that are thinking long-term about the championship and weren't able to finish the race. A dream come true for this young man who finishes third, David Kolstad. Congratulations to he and his Veloce Racing team on great success. But how about this guy? In MotoAmerica, Tyler Scott gets her done. They get a chance to do it again tomorrow, and we're going to be here to bring all you that great race action. So make sure you join us.